Hi, Captain Al here, giving you a little winter report. And middle of winter, fishing isn't happening, that's for sure. A lot of snow around. Basically, this time of year, I use it to take care of my tackle, to organize things and plan for next year, the season, what I'm going to do, and so forth. And one of the things that I really like to do, and I think it's very important, because when you're attached to a fish, the only thing that's in that fish is a hook. So any kind of lures or rigs that you use, you have to have a top-end quality, clean hook that's sharp. Nothing rusty. I mean, I see some people, one time we were snagging bunker and I happened to snag another guy's line and he lets it go. I bring his treble hook in and it's this rusty piece of stuff. The points were gone. I mean, what are you even trying to do? So just to make a point, so I go through all my tackle. I look at my plugs, my jigs, make sure the hooks are good. If they're rusty, I change them out. I look at the tackle and I say, is it worth repairing? Or should I just go buy some new ones? I have one of my favorite jigs is a Tatty. It's the Tatty 45, which is, I call a surface tin. Very popular on the West Coast, but I started using them here on the East Coast a number of years ago, and they're dynamite on the big bluefish in the spring, on the bass when they're up near the surface. And this thing swims about 1 foot to 2.5 feet below the surface, and it wobbles back and forth. And it's made out of aluminum, so you can throw it with a decent spinning rod, and the distance is unbelievable. I like throwing it into the surf line. If the surf's really big, I can keep my boat out a long way, make a long cast, and bring it through the breakers, and I've caught some awesome fish. But you can see this one, it's a little worse for the wear. I think I might maybe I'll paint it, or I'll just go buy a couple more of them this year. So you got to decide that first of all. Do I get rid of it? Do I replace it? And, so that's first thing. Next thing is I look at the hooks. Have they gotten rusty? Does something look like it's a weak point? It's going to break and so forth. You can see this Tsunami Popper, the small one, small size. I do great with this plug. I love it in the back bay, catch bluefish and bass like crazy. And I like this color. I like the yellow over white. And these hooks, you can see, if you can, a little bit rusty, I'd want to change them. Other favorites, of course, the Danny plug. You can see this plug has been fished a lot. I might touch it up with a little paint, because you're talking almost a $30 plug. It might be worth to put a little time in on it and clean it up, change the hooks and so forth. And my favorite jig, good old-fashioned gold hammered 6-ounce jig. I catch everything, striped bass, sea bass with it, whatever. So those are kind of my favorites. I have a lot of other stuff I use, but they're kind of my favorites. So what do you need to fix these plugs up? If the hooks are rusty and you have a plug like this Danny plug, it already has, it's got split rings, so you simply need a split ring plier. Remove the existing hook or the rusty one and replace it with nice clean hooks. I like these VMCs. I buy them in boxes of 25. I have 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, and 4/0. I do have a bunch of 5/0s, a couple of different plugs use a 5, but that's highly unusual. And simply you remove the plug when it has a split ring pliers, you take it off. At the same time you're removing the hook, you're putting a new one on in its place. And try to match the correct size, the one that came with the original plug, because the manufacturers, they play with it and they try different size trebles and they kind of know what's best. But I have, and in certain occasions, I've actually changed it, made them either larger or smaller, because I just felt it worked better. The other point is, when you get to stuff like jigs, the original Tatty comes with a solid ring, and the hook is placed onto the ring before the ring is brazed. I don't know how they do it, but there's no swivel here, and it isn't a split eye hook that you can straighten out and remove, so it has to be cut away. And what I use for that, regular fishing pliers aren't going to cut it, but I use these crimping pliers to have a cross cut on them, which is very, very strong, and it'll cut through those hooks. All right, even up to the 5/0 size, the heavier wire, it will cut through. Just make sure you're wearing glasses when you do it, because a piece of that hook, the eye may pop back. So that's important. Watch out for safety reasons. So what I do then is I cut the old hook away, and since I have just a single ring here, I then buy a bunch of split rings. I like the number 7 size in Spro. And I'll put a split ring onto the solid ring. And on that split ring, I'll put my new treble hook. All right, so finished product comes out looking, you know, like at the back of this one. So it would be the solid ring, my split ring, and then a good, clean, fresh treble hook on it. Or single hook if you prefer. The other way around that is Gamakatsu makes hooks with an open eye. So instead of using a split ring, you can simply go with the open eye, which then you squeeze down with a good pair of pliers. However, the strength, in my opinion, is that the strength isn't there if you hook a real big fish. And also, I like that extra with the split ring, give the hook a little movement for a better hook set. When you don't have that extra movement and you go directly into that solid ring, the fish can actually get leverage on it if it spins a certain way without either a swivel or the split ring, and kind of work the hook out and break it out. So, and then they come in different sizes, larger, smaller with the open eye, and you can adapt that. What I've done here on my favorite, my hammer jig, you can see they come originally with a hook, open eye, a crimp down hook on a swivel, which is attached to the jig itself. So what I did, since I like to use not the open eye hooks, I added a split ring to the swivel and then a replacement hook on the split ring. So, and I like this kind of maneuverability. All right, when the fish gets hooked, there's less chance of it gaining some kind of leverage and pulling the hook out of the fish's mouth. And I think it just hooks them up better and stays hooked. This year I had some big fish on the big Tsunami surface blaster. This I use with heavier spinning tackle when there are some big fish around. And this plug does have a 5/0 size treble hook on it. But these plugs come with split rings, so it's easy to change them out and to replace the hooks. Hooks are very important. They have to be sharp. So it's a matter of going through your tackle boxes, checking them over, what stuff has to be ditched, what can be repaired or touched up, and look at all the hooks. Get yourself some split rings, get yourself a good pair of split ring pliers, a good pair of crimping pliers with that heavy cutter, or there are other cutters that'll work, but regular fishing pliers won't. You'll wreck the pair of pliers trying to cut through the hooks. And I said, once again, be careful, wear protective glasses when you do that hook cutting, because that eye, a little piece at the end, then the second cut you make is going to fly off in some direction, and it could be dangerous. My favorite one of the Tatty class is the yellow and brown, which I think imitates a bunker. And I've caught some great striped bass and bluefish on this plug, and it works great. Only downside with these surface plugs up in the back bay, if there's a lot of weed, since they work a foot or two below the surface, they tend to pick up weed. So in that case, I simply switched over to the surface plugs, which stay away from the weed and also catch really, really well. So in addition to looking at your terminal tackle, also a good time of year to look at your rods. Do any guides need replacement and so forth? Or is the ceramic ring chipped? Take a cotton swab, run it around, and if you see fibers come off, you got a chip in the ring and it's going to cut your line. Look at your reels, bring them to the tackle shop to be serviced. Simple stuff you can do, lubricate them and so on. But this is the time of year you want to get on it and not wait till the fish are biting.
Thanks for watching, and remember to like our video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then tap on the bell to be notified when we post a new video on YouTube. For links to all the products, check out this video's description or visit trophytackle.com.